Out of Order by Dee Ernst. Part 3. I stared at the elevator. The out of order sign was still there. I went back inside and called Seth. Hey, it's Grace. The elevator is still kaput? Yeah, sorry about that. I'll be right up. I looked down at Monty. Are we lucky or what? We walked down the hall to the freight elevator just as Seth opened the door. Has anyone threatened to write a letter to the Times? I asked, stepping in. 2 days without an elevator is practically illegal. He grinned. Everyone seems pretty cool. It's cheaper than a gym membership. Another glorious spring day. Requisite sun and singing birds. I half expected a Disney princess to appear, leading a parade of smiling forest creatures. There were enough puddles to keep Monty happy without damaging my footwear, and Seth seemed in a disgustingly good mood. Why are you so happy? Because I have discovered a great new writer, and for me, that's like finding a fabulous new restaurant or a beautiful mountaintop. It's something to celebrate. Who? You, of course. I finished your story and I loved it. Monty, ever helpful, chose that moment to poop, allowing me a moment to put together an appropriate response while bending over with my plastic bag. Well, thank you, I said upon standing. Thank you. When are you going to send me the rest of these stories? Have you sent them out? You could probably find a publisher, you know. Or you could self-publish. All my Brooklyn Lynch stuff is self-pub. We could put it all together in a couple of weeks. And by summer, you could be on every Kindle in the world. Let me think about it, please. Wait, publish? He thought I should publish my work that I'd been slaving over for years, tenderly nursing visions of accepting distinguished literary awards while amassing huge piles of cash? I looked around. Yes, the world seemed perfectly normal. This was not some bizarro world I'd slipped into. This was Seth, and he meant it. Of course, Aunt Polly had been bothering me for years, suggesting I meet her agent, her editor, her publisher, her friend, the best-selling author, another friend, the author, her other friend, the owner of a small but well-known literary magazine. But she was my relative. It was practically her job to encourage me. But Seth? He was a total stranger, a published author, and he said my work was good. We turned to the side door and walked to the elevator in silence and rode up to the 3rd floor. So, see you around noon? He asked. Sure, I'll give you a holler. I turned the corner. Yes, the out of order sign was still there. I felt myself grinning. My heart started doing little jumps. I stood in the middle of the hallway and did a happy dance. My usual route to Aunt Polly's apartment involved going through the main entrance, past the comfortable lobby where the mailboxes were, past the stairwell, around the corner towards the parking garage entrance and elevator. Since the elevator had been broken, I got the mail and slipped into the stairwell, climbed 3 flights, and emerged on the top floor, feeling winded but incredibly healthy. So that lunchtime, I followed my new but familiar routine of walking past the very expensive and tasteful couches and checking for the mail. As I was doing so, I heard voices coming from around the corner. Obviously, someone had come in through the garage. I smiled at the 2 women coming toward me and waited to follow them upstairs. But they didn't go upstairs, they went out the front door. Why would anyone go from the garage through the lobby to get outside when it was shorter to go direct? I walked around the corner and stood in front of the elevator. There was no out of order sign on it. The women had not come from the garage, they came from the elevator. I pushed the button and it lit up. Obviously in working order. I got in and pushed the button to the 3rd floor. The doors closed without incident, and I rose swiftly and silently upward. The doors opened smoothly in front of Aunt Polly's door. I stepped out, turned around, and watched the doors close, and found myself staring at the out of order sign. I heard a sound, and there was Mr. Fishbein, holding Harry and looking flustered. "You weren't supposed to find out," he blurted. "Find out what?" "That the elevator was working. Seth asked me to use the stairs for another day and not tell you it had been fixed." The poor man was beet red. Harry the Dachshund squirmed. "Why would he want me to think the elevator was broken?" Mr. Fishbein set Harry down and shuffled past me, pushed the down button, and shrugged. "I think he liked walking Monty." The elevator arrived, swallowed Mr. Fishbein and Harry, and left me standing in the empty hall. My mouth, I believe, was hanging open. I went into the apartment and stared accusingly at Monty. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. Monty grinned and wagged his tail. I called Seth on the house phone, grabbed the leash, and Monty and I went in search of our ride. Seth looked just as happy and cheerful as before. He did not like a man who had deliberately lied to me just so he could spend some extra time with a golden retriever. Although he patted Monty's head and even gave him an extra scratch behind the ear, he also put his hand on my shoulder and, as we left the elevator, guided me out with his hand on the small of my back. It felt very nice. I took a breath. I'd been practicing in my head exactly what I was going to say and how I was going to sound all smooth and cavalier. I hadn't counted on my body going all tingly from the touching, and I was distracted. But I wasn't going to back down. If I was really going to do this, and apparently I was, it was time to act like a grown-up and take control of the situation. "So, about your birthday," I began. "I think we should make it a traveling celebration." "Oh? And how would that work?" "We could start with a cocktail at Sona, then head across the street for some Thai spring rolls. I love those spring rolls. After which, we could walk down the street and get a salad at the meatball place." "We could also get meatballs at the meatball place," he said. "True, but I was thinking our main course should be something a bit more celebratory." "What birthday are you celebrating anyway?" "The fairly big 4-5. "Oh, yes, well, then we absolutely have to go big." "Steak or fish?" "Fish, because I have a feeling there's dessert coming in here somewhere." "Just cupcakes, but you're right. We should try to stay on the lighter side. Down to the famished frog for fish, then over to Carlo's desserts for the big finish." "Perfect. I was thinking about leaving Monty at home." He looked thoughtful. "We'd probably get much better tables that way. There's only so much room on the sidewalk." "Are you sure it's okay? I mean, you're going through an awful lot of trouble just to be with him on his walks." I looked sideways at him. His profile was just as impressive as his full-on face, with a straight nose and chiseled chin. "To be honest, it's not just Monty I'm going through all this trouble for." Our eyes met, and I came to a full stop. Did he really just say that? Of course he did. And why not? "Listen, Seth." "Wait." He turned so he was facing me in the street. The lunchtime crowd jostled us, but I didn't move a muscle. "The elevator was fixed yesterday." "Really?" "Yes, right after lunch. But I really liked walking and talking with you." I felt the blood rising from my neck and flushing my cheeks. "I liked walking and talking to you too. Why didn't you just ask to come with me?" He looked down at the ground, off to the side, at some point over my left shoulder, then met my eyes again. "I was afraid you'd say no." "So you made all those people walk up and down the stairs all yesterday afternoon?" He nodded. "And this morning I sold my soul to Ben Fishbein so he'd walk up and down the stairs today too." I grinned. I couldn't help it. "Well, get your soul back, because Mr. Fishbein spilled the beans. His jaw dropped. He rolled his eyes upward, then shook his head, laughing. Man, I am so busted. Monty whined, not liking the crowd, and looked up at me. Come on, I said. Monty has to pee at least 3 more times, and we're holding up traffic here. My heart was doing little flips inside my chest, and I could not, for the life of me, stop grinning. Seth put his arm across my shoulder, just as though something very important had been decided, and we walked on, turning right down to Hart Street, past some of Monty's favorite trees, and back around to the apartment building. We walked in the front door into the elevator. So I'll see you tomorrow, he asked. I pushed the button. I'll come down and get you. Around 6:30? He nodded. Sounds good. He was staring at his feet. I stared at his mouth, wondering if it was too early for a birthday kiss. Just a little one, maybe along the side of his lips. I heard a familiar ping. The elevator opened, and Monty obediently stepped inside, pulling me with him. Can I take down the out of order sign? He asked. He grinned and nodded as the door closed. As I got off on the 3rd floor, I carefully peeled the sign off the cold metal doors and pressed it against my chest, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles. What should I wear? I asked Monty. He offered no suggestions. I led us into the apartment and propped the sign on the kitchen counter, then spent at least 5 minutes trying to figure out what time it was in Paris and if I could call Aunt Polly. I finally decided yes. Grace, darling, is everything okay? Yes, Aunt Polly. Is this a good time? No, but there really is no good time over here. I have way too many things to do. Are you being brave? I tightened my grip on my cell phone. Yes. Listen, I like Seth. Well, what's not to like? He's smart and charming, and very funny once you get to know him. Did he tell you he's a writer? Yes, I read some of his stuff. Any Brooklyn Lynch? I found myself blushing. Yes. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, all that research. Yes, I was thinking about his birthday, dinner. Oh, her voice rose. He's gone from a drink and a cupcake to a dinner? Yes. Would you mind terribly if I invited him up here for coffee? She chuckled, a deep, throaty sound. Of course not, Grace. What happened to you not getting involved with good-looking men? Did he break down your resolve? He likes my writing, I blurted. I could almost hear her smile. Well, then, that explains everything. Have a lovely time, dear. I'll see you in a few days. We hung up, and I sat there, my heart racing. Monty whined softly and nudged my hand. I scratched his ears and sat there, smiling like a fool, alone in the dark. I got up early the next morning and shaved my legs. Not just to the knee, but all the way up. Just in case. In case of what? A little voice asked. Shut up, I replied. I made another visit to Aunt Polly's closet the night before, coming away with a lovely silk tunic that probably hung straight and chic on her, but hugged a few of my curves just right. It would go great with dark skinny jeans and heels. I was going for a casual, classy, vamp glam look, which was really not a look at all. But when I looked at myself in the mirror that evening, I kind of liked the reflection and was willing to go for it. What do you think? Monty yawned. He did not seem at all upset that Seth had not been with us at all during the day, but was probably a bit miffed I cut his evening walk so short. I had to get dressed, redo my makeup, fluff my hair, and wipe off 3 different lipsticks before I was ready to go. But he was not sympathetic. I knocked boldly on Seth's door, and he opened it immediately. His hair was slightly damp, and there was a musky kind of aftershave smell coming off him. He was smiling and looked me up and down appreciatively, and I didn't even mind. You look great, he said. You too, I answered, and I meant it. Why hadn't I thought about takeout? Let's go, birthday boy. We need to start this party. We walked down to Zona 13 and sat outside at the same table I'd been sitting with Amanda on Monday. Insta-waiter was there and must have recognized me because we got our drinks very fast, and as he set mine down, he whispered in my ear, "Score!" What did he say? Seth asked. I shook my head. Nothing. Here's to a very happy birthday celebration. He clinked my glass. I don't see how we can miss. I felt a small rush of wonder. Here I was, sitting with the best-looking man in the room, and I had no desire to try to impress him. Sure, I'd gone out of my way with my A-list bra and killer heels, but I wasn't trying to find a weakness I could exploit. I wasn't agreeing with everything he said. I didn't care when we discovered that we were on opposite sides of the Yankees versus Met debate. I had no interest in expounding on my rather pointed views on religion when he mentioned he'd gone to Catholic school. I was completely comfortable with him, just being myself. We ordered a second drink, and I was beginning to think that dinner was going to drag on way too long when it started to rain. Not a gentle, teasing spring drizzle. This was a full-blown storm, complete with thunder and lightning, and it came on so suddenly we barely had time to grab our drinks and run inside. There goes our party, I sighed. Are you kidding? You're not getting off that easy. Where's the menu? We both blew past all the vaguely gourmet items on the menu and ordered sliders and fries to go as we watched the rain fall. We ducked out of the front door and stayed under the awnings all the way down to the end of the block. He valiantly protected our food under his shirt. Stay here, I said, eyeing Carlos's desserts across the street. I'm going in. What's your fave? Red velvet cake. I stared at him. Really? That's mine too. I think we're a perfect match. I ran across the street, feeling the rain soak into my skin. I burst inside, got 6 cupcakes, then braved the torrent again. We made it to the lobby just as the power went out. I think, I said with a laugh, that the elevator is going to be out of order again. But we could walk up to Aunt Polly's if you want. We climbed the steps, and Monty was so happy to see us, he almost ignored the food. I carefully set down a box of cupcakes and served sliders on Aunt Polly's heirloom china. We stood, looking down at the table. We can eat, I announced. He looked at me and I stopped feeling cold and wet, and I knew that my makeup was running down my face and I didn't care. I took a step forward and he put his arms around me and gave me a kiss. It was a pretty good kiss. Well, actually, it was the kind of a kiss that romance writers are always trying to describe using words like earth-shattering, mind-blowing, and orgasmic. It was the kind of kiss that happens between two people who have a lot more to say to each other and aren't exactly sure how to start. It was the kind of kiss that meant something, the beginning of something was very, very important was happening. I stepped back. Happy birthday, I managed. My breath caught in my throat. Best birthday ever. And he kissed me again. By the time we got around to eating, the food was cold, so we fed it to Monty and sat on the couch and ate cupcakes. And I thought about how odd and wonderful the world really was.